you know that this is a podcast about dating. But when it comes to dating, there are certain obstacles, and we're going to talk about one that people don't think about.
All right.
Friendship. Your name is Nithya, and we've been friends for a very long time.
We have.
How long?
Doing the math that I don't know how to do.
Yeah, we're not math.
I think 15 years. Seriously, I think it's 15
Damn,
years.
we didn't even go out to celebrate that. I mean, that's longer than a lot of relationships or marriages, I would say.
Yeah, and that's why friendships are sacred.
Congratulations to both of us.
Just congratulate yourself. Yes, congratulations, Ari. Thank you for being my friends for 15 years.
So,
this is a dating podcast. I know you called me here today to talk about dating. And we were sort of talking back and forth about this, and we landed on friendship because friendship is important to dating. I think one of the reasons that we have been able to sustain our friendship for as long as it has gone on is because we were in relationships that allowed for that to happen. And sometimes not everyone is able to maintain relationships like this. Past a certain age, one could argue.
So I think maybe it's helpful because, a friendship is a type of relationship.
Right.
And we're the dating podcast, right? We're talking about regular relationships in terms of romantically inclined, I guess.
I mean, culturally speaking, and this is a huge generalization, of course, but, with our culture being as patriarchal as it is, and the sense of ownership some men have over their girlfriends, right? Which we saw a lot, especially with women from our culture, like girls not being able to be on a dance team because their boyfriends were like, I don't want you to be touched by another guy, or lifted up in the air when, I don't know, a Gene song is on. It's just ludicrous.
A Gene song, yes. I actually thought you were going to say you can't be on the dance team because of your period or something and made it really archaic, but no, you didn't go there.
No, I didn't. Some guys don't even understand periods.
Some? You mean 95%? What are you talking about?
Let's not even go there, but luckily I was never in a relationship like that because my values just don't align with men that are like that in general. I made it a point to make sure people that were important to me knew who you were. So anyone that I dated, I think you can agree, I introduced you, I invited you out to things. So I think there is a role for the person who's in the relationship to play when it comes to saving or maintaining relationships that you find important. I think once you start to hide, or once you start to be like, oh, I was talking to nobody, or you just kind of shoo them off to the side, that's when you know you have a problem. Yeah, I think in all of my relationships I've been able to do that. Hence why what I was trying to get at is one of the reasons I think that we have been friends for so long is because of that. I allowed that space for that to happen and to be with people who accepted that. And I mean, again, coming from a completely different background where I never really looked at, I don't know, growing up.
I never looked at anyone.
I never was he's a guy, I can't be friends with him. You remember there was this one time, a friend of one of the people that I've dated, had such an issue with you.
Yeah.
He had such an issue with you. And the thing is, I wasn't dating him. And my ex at the time would always be like, oh, he doesn't like him. He keeps telling me to watch out. And watch out for what? I literally spent every waking hour of my day with my ex at that time. And it's
yeah, it was a problem. I remember.
I'm watch out for what? And then he tried to attack you.
Oh yeah, no, he attacked me. But you know what? That really wasn't because of that. That was because he felt so insecure that the girl he was talking to at that point was on really good terms with me. She wasn't trying to date me.
Yeah. So it was a culmination.
So it was all of it. So when when they were both walking, I remember it was at the Ryerson pub or whatever.
Don't out us like that.
I can cut that out.
What's Ryerson? Ryerson
that
doesn't even
exist. Yeah, so they were walking by, and I remember just being like, hey, it's not like I was like, hey, how you doing? Joey style. I was just like, hey. They were walking by, I was on my phone. And she smiled and she waved, and then he was not about it. He genuinely hated the fact that she knew me. And because I met her first, that she was in good terms. Again, no one was gonna date or anything, but he was trying to chop that at the time, right? Like the term. So he was just super pissed. So he sucker punched me at the time. I remember, it was so funny.
I definitely think opposite identified genders.
Yeah, it's really hard to go with the lingo. Obviously, there are terms there that not everyone is familiar with. So whatever you want to call it, someone who's different from you.
Friends with anyone is the point at the end of the day. I think a good friend is how they make you feel and how they make your significant other feel. If they are not making your significant other feel comfortable, then that's something you need to address and reevaluate. If they are not if your friend is not making an effort to get to know your significant other, then there is an issue.
Pretty simple.
But it's two ways. It also falls on you as well. And, I've been in situations like that too. It's like, I have to make sure I do my part to ensure that my significant other understands what the hell is going on, if for any reason there is a concern. And I don't think it's outlandish for, like, if I was dating someone or my husband, I make a new dude friend and he's like, he trusts me, so he wouldn't really be like this, but let's just say for the sake of this conversation, he's mildly, like, piqued. Like, why are you making new male friends? Let's just say.
Is that weird? Is that weird to think? As if your husband thought that?
It's not normal for me, like in my life, because my husband trusts me, but I don't think it's outlandish if that's all you say and you don't talk about that person again. Like if Thurston were to come to me and be like, oh, like Ashley, it's the first thing that's coming to my head. Like, oh,
Ashley?
Yeah, I went to the bar with Ashley and like he came home late. Like there's context, right? Like there's context as to like what were you doing with this person. If it's someone at work, okay, cool. Like it's someone at work. But even at work, like if you have a healthy relationship, he's gonna tell me about this person named Ashley that he's having a good time with.
Is there a Thummel equivalent to Ashley?
Like Ashley is like my basic white girl name in my brain.
And
Sindhu.
probably Sindhu, yeah. I can
We've
count.
talked about this
There's a
before.
lot of Sindhus actually. Shout out to the Sindhus all out there. I mean, you guys are keeping it real, despite having a very universally maybe hated name.
There's so many variations of Sindhu too.
Like the way it's spelled?
Way it's spelled, where it's said, whatever numerological way it needs to be spelled.
Give me two Sindhus.
There's Sindhu with a D at the
Sindhu.
end. Sindhu, they spell like that, and then you have the TH at the end.
Sindhu.
And then you have Sinthuya with a Y at the end, and you have
Sinthuja.
Sinthuja, Sinthujan, which is now
Seems like a
guy's
dude's name, yeah.
There's a lot of them. That would suck to be a guy named called Sindhu all the time, right?
Yeah, because even if you go shorter with Sin, a lot of the Sindhus are called Sin.
Yeah.
How much shorter can it be? Si? Sai? Psyduck?
Well, it would be an S.
Because
No, like SI would still be.
C, right?
That would be a civic.
Spanish. Oh, this is civic. Oh.
Yeah.
Type R.
VTech. In short, you can be friends with whoever the hell you want. It could be just as awkward with a girl. If I made a new girlfriend who just, I'm just thinking about the worst case scenario. I made a new girlfriend and her interests were going to strip clubs and partying at night. That would probably make my husband be like,
That's a very good point because we're so focused on the opposite sex based on if you were in the opposite relationship, right? So I'm a man, I'm straight, I like women. So if my wife, in this case, found a friend that at this point, even though we have a young daughter and we're married and all that stuff, going to strip clubs in this case, just going out clubbing all the time, it is kind of.
I do want to say though, there's literally nothing wrong with doing that.
But I think the fear is when it's someone of the opposite sex, it just becomes ultimately like gray area in one's mind.
Well, as soon as, when you say it that way, it's literally like the fear is that you're going to have sex with someone.
Yeah, and
And you're literally, it's such a heteronormative way to think, because it's like, I could have sex with a girl if I wanted,
absolutely.
and what would you think about that, right? So, like,
Are you asking me what I would think about you having sex with another woman?
no. That's not what this podcast is about. It's not about my sex life. So, I mean, ultimately, as I sit here and think about this, it comes down to how healthy your actual relationship is.
We had a TC on the Street episode on the other boat cruise with Alan with this. And the question was, can you be friends with the opposite sex? It's the exact same thing. And I find that everyone says basically the same thing. It seems like the answer here is very simple. Oh, of course, be friends with anyone. But I feel like a lot of people don't practice that. They'll say it, but they themselves really don't have any friends of the opposite sex, and they are married to someone of the opposite sex. So they're just, it's almost like the addition of now upgrading your status in their terms. You are now married with someone, to someone, that now all your friends are gone. And I'll give you a good example of this. So someone I know is the same thing. They complained to their now husband at the time that it's like, oh man, like I'm going through so many problems because all my male friends, they're not my friends anymore. I gave up a lot for you. That was said. She's saying in this context that she's sacrificed a lot of her friends who are male. Basically, the males dropped out because she now has a husband or a boyfriend. So it's like the idea of having friends of the opposite sex is being thrown out the window, even though this person, just like many, would say, of course you can be friends with the opposite sex.
So, I mean, I have also been in that position where some guys that I thought were friends, as soon as they picked up girlfriends, disappeared. It was rare. I'm in a rare situation where the people that I have dated were also kind of just naturally friends with my dude friends, so there wasn't too much of delineation there, but I've experienced it on the other side, and it's honestly, no one's ever actually told me this, none of the guys told me this, but I'm almost pretty confident that that happened because their significant others were not comfortable with whatever the hell we had going on from a friendship standpoint. I don't know, but not us, I just meant but
Not everything.
I kind of put it together. It's just sometimes you got to do the math on your own and like, okay, well, when you get out of that relationship, I guess I'll hear from you or not, because that kind of pissed me off. Like, that's kind of annoying. Like, it's like being ghosted, and I don't know, I guess like if they can't really tell you because then they're throwing their girlfriend under the bus, but
Hey, a tangent here is there's obviously, everyone here knows a person, a friend, that started dating someone and they ghosted you. You're the friend group is ghosted because they're so focused on their new Goldilocks relationship.
Yeah.
And that's crappy, but I understand that it could happen for a week or two, but man, like it happens way more than you think and for a long period of time. And then of course, when the relationship sucks, who are they calling when they need support? That's just a tangent, but in the same vein, I don't know why all these the members of the opposite sex drop out. So in this case, why all the male friends dropped out from that friendship. We found out it's because those male friends weren't really friends in this case. They kind of just wanted a piece, and once once she got with someone in this case, they were gone. They were just gone, and she was wondering why, and that sucks. At the same time, you get into a relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you get into a relationship right now, and you have a lot of male friends that you haven't seen in a while because of the pandemic, right? So what happens if like now the pandemic's kind of over or whatever? What if they hit you up now? It's like, hey, let's go watch a basketball game at a bar, right? I feel like that happens a lot and people shy away from it because they're afraid to tell their significant other that I'm gonna go out with the boys or the girls or whatever.
See, again, that would be a rare thing for me because pretty much everyone I know
Is around.
or their would know.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not someone, like, say there was, like, a long hiatus and I haven't talked about this person, like, I may be like, hey, like, Joe, or just whatever, random name, Joe, just hit me up, and I haven't talked to him in, like, 5 years, like, he just wants to hang out, like, normally, like, the way I would communicate that, if Joe was a good friend of mine, I would be happy. I'd be like, oh my God, I haven't heard from him in, like, 5 years, like, oh, I wonder what he's up to. He wants to go watch the game. I'm just gonna, like, just that kind of style of communication, if you're in a healthy relationship, shouldn't bother your husband.
In the first 4 or 5 years of my relationship with Joey, or even after being married, there were some women that I knew from the past, they just kind of resurfaced again. I don't know why. Or maybe I did, because you know on Instagram, sometimes you just like, someone who reaches out or comments, and you're like, oh, I forgot about this person. How are you doing? And then, so I had this crew that we would watch like basketball games with or something, and I was like, hey, maybe I can go like, hang out with them. I thought about that so innocently that I didn't think, oh, like 4 out of the 5 of them are women, and I think the 5th guy, like he's gone. So I'm basically gonna ask my wife if I can go out with 4 women and just watch a basketball game randomly, and she's never met any of them, and I've never talked about them. But I knew them and had this heavy run. You know how you can go through like pockets of friends for a bit, like they're around for 2 years and then they're gone? So that was that. So I was like hesitant, right? Like I was afraid almost, like, oh, I don't know if I should ask
So
her.
hold on. Why didn't you ever talk to Joey about that?
I don't know, they just like, we fell off like right before the relationship. It was kind of a coincidence. So it had nothing to do with her. It was just because I was living outside of the country for like 4 or 5
Is it
months.
possible that you were that guy that you just described in the previous?
So I didn't,
So you
Wait.
ghosted those girlfriends because you found Joey.
maybe. I don't remember doing that, but maybe it's very possible. I can own it if I know.
It's very possible. I mean, it's not malicious. It's not intentional. But
Well, I feel like I'm cutting you off a lot, but there are first tier friends and there are second tier friends, and in this case, these friends were just like, you hang out when you hang out. We're not talking every day. We're not even talking every week. So that's how I position them. So obviously, when you're in a new relationship, I feel like yes, those friends are gone. Like they're not gone, but they're low priority. It's your main core that should be around, and they should be meeting your significant other, of course.
Yeah.
So it's possible I ghosted them, but also not.
there are relationships though, and I mean, who am I to say what's the best way to have in Kentucky? But there are relationships that are private too. Like I know there's some people who value their privacy so much that they're like, this is my relationship and this is my friends, and none of these things should ever meld together. Like I want them separate. And in those cases, it's like you just better hope you're dating someone that also has that system.
We can like kind of wrap this up, but I do have this question, and I've noticed in the last like 2 years, there's a shift towards like being more conservative in some ways. The media is very liberal. I feel like in the last 2 years, it's kind of, there have been channels that have been popping up that are more male centric, like you can do this with women, pickup artists and all that stuff.
Oh, I think it all cycles. It's
absolutely.
It's recycled.
When we're talking about friends of the opposite sex, their whole position on this is you can't have a friend of the opposite sex, being a straight person or whatever. They'll say, so when you're single and that friend calls you and says, hey, like it's 10 p.m., like, you want to hook up? Their argument is, if that was a guy and the woman called the guy and it was 10 p.m., that the guy would 100% say yes, and therefore they are not friends. They are just kind of two people and whenever the woman is down, they will have sex with that woman.
Okay, well,
That's literally what the
That's
Red
not a new
Pill Society.
argument, though. I often think about Joey from Friends, and I'm like, how the fuck is he anybody's friend? That is like, Joey is literally a classic example of what a male friend shouldn't be.
He kind of hits on all of them, like in weird times, right?
He hits on every single one of them.
Hey, you need anything, you can always come to Joey. Me and Chandler live right across the hall, and he's away a lot.
Joey, stop hitting on her. It's her wedding day.
What, like there's a rule or something?
Almost, if you look at it at the lens of what we're talking about right now, you're almost like, dude, how are you still friends with him? It's that whole boys will be boys BS that,
Girls will
people,
be girls,
like,
boys will be boys, everyone will be everyone.
conservatives often like to spin, but that's fine. But is that the kind of world you want to live in?
As a man, do you think that that's a fair assumption to make about men? Like, are men just, do you not think that's sad to be like, any girl that you meet you want to bone, like for real? Like, to be fair, you could bone anyone, and a woman can do the same as well.
She can
And
bone.
it's
They
very
can
much
bone.
a social
Everyone can,
construct
yeah.
how we view the opposite gender. We're literally conditioned from a very young age on how a woman should interact and how a man should interact, and I think that heavily affects these viewpoints. But I just think it's a really sad place to live in. If any man that I see, I'm constantly like, he just wants to bone me.
Do you think it's any different being in this little Thummel bubble of ours? Can Thummel people be friends with the opposite sex? Is that a different question?
There's a lot of nuance to that because there's a lot of things that telemed have been taught to look for in women that are completely false, in my opinion.
Do you want to name a couple?
I mean, first it starts with appearances, like being light-skinned, having straight hair.
So the women
skinny.
should be light-skinned, have straight hair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually not even going to say, like, when I go to these Tamil events, I know that when I'm entering these spaces, I have some of those things, right? Like some of these guys don't know anything about me. They're coming at me because of a certain way that I look, right? We have literally nothing in common most often, but it's very much the courtship is based on appearance. And you know, the first time I came to your house, I walk into your house and I see like a Trisha poster.
Was it Trisha?
It was Trisha, man. It was Trisha.
Was it not Sinead?
But I mean, that's another point. Like, if you're growing up as a diaspora Tamil here, a lot of what you know, you're either learning from home or movies that you're watching.
Hold on. It's unfair to say that poster is indicative of my
just-
love for light-skinned women, and also because I'm with someone who's light-skinned, lighter than me. Mainly because in Hollywood, what is it? All of Indian cinema, every female protagonist is light-skinned.
I was trying to
Throwing it out there to the universe.
the
That's
fact that
I do
you
not
had
have a preference.
poster, though, where'd you get that? Like a Cadbury chocolate bar that you bought at a Tamil convenience
I probably
store?
got it from like those magnets that are handed out in Scarborough, like Punch Sokolingam and stuff. Yeah, Lawyers at Law, Team Selva. I'm sure there is one.
Tamil media consumption is very much, it's not even a conversation. You're going to go for a light-skinned, like a light-skinned Tamil girl with straight hair who basically looks like she's white or North Indian, if you will, is coveted, right? Like, you'll go to a family event and even grandmas are like, oh, look at your like nice shiny hair, or like, oh, you're so fair. Like, what kind of,
Your shoulders
how
so
is that
fair.
a compliment? Like, how is your skin tone a compliment? But
Hey, it seems like a lot of ethnic.
yeah, it's not just it's colonization, right? It's not just the Tamil community, although you won't find Tamil actresses. They exist, but they are not what are coveted, at least even in this day and age, right? It's slowly changing, but it's also one of the reasons that I really don't watch Tamil movies, because what am I watching?
You know, Dhanush is in a Hollywood movie now with Captain America
Yeah,
and Ryan Gosling.
That's
Pretty
great.
cool.
That is great. I'm not going to say
I wonder how
that's,
much English she speaks in it.
that's not.
Is it funny that he's like kind of dark skinned though, like in comparison?
No.
So that's okay for a man
How
to be
many
dark skinned, right?
Tamil- That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How many heroes? There's people who
Heroes.
praise Tamil actors like friggin' gods
Like
that
Ryan.
are dark skinned. Rajnikant, first of all, not Tamil, dark as fuck.
I mean, he's close enough.
He's not Tamil, but you overlook that, and he's dark. You have every single one of these people. Who else? Vijay. Oh my god, Vijay. Dark. like okay. First of all, I don't want what I'm saying to be misconstrued that dark is bad. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I know.
And
I mean, some people might not.
and really, I'm comparing it to how females are
Oh, absolutely.
desired, right? So like you'll have. I still can't get over the fact that dude whose eyes are red all of the time, Vijay Kant. How the hell, first of all, is he an actor? Second of all,
Questioning his craft. It's a low
second of
blow.
all, have you seen the actresses that he's paired with? In what world would
Would
this
they ever
work?
get together? It doesn't. Yeah, you know.
Basically, what you're saying though is that if I was in a relationship with Tamil female in my straight case, and she saw me hanging out with a light-skinned Tamil girl with straight hair and is skinny or whatever,
Yeah.
that she would be more threatened by that than whatever the opposite of that is, a dark-skinned, thicker woman with curly hair.
I think attractiveness is synonymous with any situation, though.
No, but would you think that
Yeah,
That would be more
I
threatening?
think that makes a difference. Obviously, there's nuances with that, but that's not just a Tamil thing. I think like even if you were non-Tamil and you had like a hot friend and your girlfriend wasn't secure with herself or your relationship, and that at the end of the day is the answer. You need to be secure with yourself and your relationship. You need to know how to communicate, which is like the Bible for any relationship that you're in.
I think we've established that friendship is nice, and it sucks if you don't have it. And it's not supposed to be threatening to relationships.
Yeah, I mean, even if you date, you are friends with the person that you date.
Well, you eventually will be friends,
You would
hopefully.
hope. You would hope, right?
The state of relationships is very complex and nuanced, as you know, and that's a topic for another day. But thank you for joining us, talking about friends. And
Thank you for joining me.
actually, yes. So I think we glossed over who you are and what you represent and all that stuff. So like,
I represent.
yeah, I would love to know what you represent. Hoop earrings, cool
Um,
hairstyles, witty banter, light-skinned.
Me? You know what's hilarious is if I were to go back home, I'm still not
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
light-skinned,
It's crazy.
which is insane. So if you're in a situation where you're in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
and you have a friend that's a girl
Yes.
that you're quite close with,
Mhm.
and you find out one day you have like that your girlfriend doesn't like her, right?
So my significant other in this case does not like my friend.
Yeah, your significant other doesn't like your friend.
Mhm.
This is the first part question. One, what would you do about that?
I mean, if so, in this case, I kind of I found out one night that I don't really like that Nithya person because that's kind of what happens sometimes. It's happened in the past. Well, it's kind of have to explain the situation because I feel like that whatever they're thinking comes from a place of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I haven't explained our relationship is not enough to them, and wonder why we talk a lot, or like we message or send memes, or the thing with us is we have such a symbiotic rapport with memes and like jokes, and sometimes we say the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, they must be really close," like okay, sure, but because we've had that much experience together, they may be intimidated. So the whole thing is basically let's do a meeting of the minds. Let's all hang out. That's it.
So that's how you would just bring everyone together.
Once everyone's comfortable, of course. I'm like, if they're not comfortable, then it does become a little harder. But they have to budge on that part because if they're like, I don't like your relationship with your friend, but they're not willing to meet the friend, figure out what we're all about together. We always party together with our significant others.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, they should naturally get into why we're friends, or hopefully in someone else's situation, same thing. That's what I would do.
So let's say you do that and your girlfriend is still like, nah, I don't like her.
We would really have to sit down and really talk about it. We, pro con list, what's going on, really figure it out. And honestly, if there's something, it seems like at that point, it's a trust thing. Like you've mentioned you've peppered this throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's all about trust. So if she doesn't trust my friend, you, or whoever else, then it's really on her now because we've collectively done the steps that we needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually more funny if you didn't like the significant other, because then that's another thing. But yeah, and then it's
I mean, that could happen. Like if as a friend that's close enough to you.
That usually happens too.
Where it's just like,
This person's not great for you.
yeah, I don't think they're right for you. Although that's never really happened.
Not with us, but I'm sure it happens a lot.
Yeah, no, it happens, but with us it hasn't. For the girls that are watching this that has dated him, it's never happened.
all 1.5 of you.
Let's say you make the decision that you're going to maintain a double life, where you haven't found an answer. You haven't found a concrete way to meld this all together. And your girlfriend's adamant. I'm like, you know what? I don't want you to be friends with her, but you're close with this friend. Would you tell your friend?
That my significant other doesn't want to be close, doesn't want me to be close with her?
Yeah.
That's tricky. You know why this is tricky? Because this has happened. So I do have with one of my relationships, she noticed that on an Instagram post or some story that I was really close to this other woman.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't understand the verbiage you guys are using. When you guys are describing each other like you're lovers or something. And this was right before I started dating you. So what's the deal? Is this person are we exclusive? All that stuff. And I'm like, no, it's fine. She's just a very flirty, she works in an industry that promotes that and to be a friend to everyone. And and then I said to my person I was dating, I was like, she's really flirty. I want to just know her because she knows a lot of people too. And honestly, there's no one's trying to sleep with anyone here.
Yeah.
Right? So that has happened. And when they met, there were darts going to each other's eyes. I knew they could see that they didn't like each other. And then when I saw my friend, she's like, yeah, it didn't seem like your girlfriend really liked me. I'm like, she did not, because you are very flirty. And she said, well, you know, that's just how I am. And she wasn't apologizing for it, because it's like, okay, sure. And then
It's a little bit strange.
it is very strange. She's like, I'm not apologizing for it. Okay, right. So I'm not gonna really talk to you that much. But I have worked for this person before, like, because she's in the media arts frame of mind and industry.
Do you think, for viewers who are watching this who may be in a similar situation, that it's important for the friend to understand? Do you think there's a role that the friend has to play to mitigate situations like this, or does it fall completely on you?
I think it's everyone. Obviously, you're the key, because if you want the relationship and you want the friend, you kind of have to work them all in together.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in the situation where the friend is super flirty, it really depends on how everyone's comfortable. Like, and I'm talking about flirty, like, yeah, sometimes they would touch your arm or something,
Yeah.
right? And like, if your significant other is there and this person's touching your arm, it kind of gets strange.
Right.
So again, it really has to be about the unit. It's a tricky situation though. There's a lot of communication. Basically, communication is the key, which not everyone has.
Yeah, I was in a similar situation where I had no idea that this friend's significant other had an issue with my friendship with this person. And this went on for like years. So we'd be going to events, we'd be chatting like nothing happened. And that, I guess, surmounted over years and just blew up into this situation where then I found out that I was an issue.
You were an issue.
That I was an issue, and that was a really awkward spot to be. Obviously, I mean, just to clarify, nothing happened ever. Like, it was nothing. It was clearly a sign that their relationship had poor communication issues. But I had wished that person had told me at some point in those years.
So basically, you're in a situation where you had no idea this was going on until it basically ended.
Until, that friendship has ended, and like, I mean, at the time it was not a fun time, and it was sad, and it was like, oh wow, like this is all, it was unnecessary is how I felt, because had I known, to some degree, one, it was very false, it was a false assumption, and two,
The assumption that you were doing something with the friend.
It made me feel shitty. It's like, what kind of person do you think I am?
Because you had a significant other at the time
But
yourself.
even if I didn't, I knew he was in a relationship. So why the
Obviously,
hell?
because you were friends.
Yeah, but like, why would I do that, right? Like, and these are a lot of other things. Like, if that person had gotten to know me and who I was as a person, like, that assumption probably would have eradicated on its own. But there's a few archaic possibilities there, like archaic way of thinking, that may have taken over, for lack of better words.
You know,
The conclusion here is, just because members of the opposite sex are together, we're not pandas at a zoo. We're just not gonna bone for no reason. And that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so. I'm still not convinced. Like, I'm still not convinced with the argument that all men want to do is fuck. Because if that's the case, why the fuck would you get married?
Because it's more about ownership and power now.
Like, that logic to me means you would just bone everyone without a condom, or like just not safe sex, procreate across the map and leave your mark and have like little versions of you all over the world.
well, in this case,
Which is like Mormonism, as FYI. Have you guys seen that documentary? Like, that is literally what they think, that a man's purpose on earth is to duplicate themselves as many ways as possible. And there's a lot of religious doctrines that praise this too, so it's a messy world, but I personally don't think that's the world that I want to live in. So the people that I am letting enter into my life should also follow that sort of, POV in my, like, I wouldn't, in a way, is what I'm trying to say, is in a way, at the end of the day, I'm okay and I'm at peace with those types of people no longer being in my life because they no longer fit in my life.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, to friendship.
To French. You have nothing in your glass.
I'm done.
Fake cheers.
It's not fake. It just means you're slow. I mean, I hope that this was a productive podcast for anyone listening and watching. All three of the people that are going to watch, including me, who edits it.
I'm sure one of the people watching
We'll
is
gain
a
some
Sindhu.
insight. Oh, it's a Sindhu.
Is a Sindhu.
Shout out to the Sindhus out there. We love and
Thank you
respect
for
you.
being here.
Thank you for being you, Sindhu.